1765 till 1857, we witnessed establishment and consolidation of the British rule. Territorially, the British rule expanded, and on the basis of administration and social and cultural policies, the British consolidated their rule. By the beginning of 18th century, it was only in Bombay, Madras and Calcutta that we had three presidencies. So we had Bombay Presidency, the Madras Presidency, and the Calcutta Presidency. These three presidencies acted independently from each other. So Calcutta Presidency, it had its own fort, the Fort Williams. Madras Presidency, it had its own fort. The earliest was the Madras Presidency. In 1668, we saw that Bombay Presidency came into existence. So all the peripheral factories, they came under Bombay Presidency. So by the beginning of 18th century, we had three principal presidencies acting independently from each other. And each presidency had its own aim. So all these three presidencies, they were basically coming under the East India Company, but they acted almost autonomously. The Europeans, they had competitors. For example, in the Carnatic area, the French, they were settled in Pondicherry, Mahe, Karaikal. We had Nagpattanam, where there were Dutch settlement. In Bengal, the French, they were settled in Chandernagore, the Dutch in Bedara. So these Europeans who were scattered all through the Indian subcontinent, they also competed with one another. So at times, the Calcutta Presidency competed with the French in Chandernagore. At times, the Madras Presidency or the English settlers around the Madras Presidency, they competed with the French established in Pondicherry. So there were Europeans which were struggling with each other to become the monopoly power in India. While all this struggle continued, we see that in the Carnatic, there were three Carnatic wars. The first Carnatic War from 1746 till 1748 that we have already studied. So in the Carnatic Wars, from 1746 up till 1763. For a recap, the first Carnatic War from 1746 till 1748, followed by the second Carnatic War from 1748 till 1753, and the third Carnatic War from 1756 up till 1763, that is the Treaty of Paris. We will see that this Madras Presidency, it was able to eliminate the French as a danger in the Carnatic. Moreover, in the second Carnatic War, the English, they were successfully able to subjugate the Nawab of Arcot under their control. Subsequently, in 1766, the English, after getting rid of the French, they also signed a treaty with Hyderabad so as to get the northern Sarkar territory under their control. So this was the achievement of the Madras area, Madras Presidency. But greater success was achieved by the Calcutta Presidency when we see in 1757, Battle of Plassey, followed by 1764, Battle of Buxar. The British, they became the de jure power, because you will appreciate that in 1765, the Treaty of Allahabad gave Diwani rights to the British for Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. So we can say the English effectively became the de jure power of a large territory. And this was possible only via Treaty of Allahabad in 1765. So our study begins with 1765 when we see via Treaty of Allahabad the English became the de jure powers. From 1765 till 1767, Robert Clive became the governor of the Calcutta Presidency. Robert Clive, he was instrumental in the Battle of Plassey. In fact, after Battle of Buxar, when the British became the de jure rulers of Bengal, at that point of time, the Court of Directors, they decided to send Robert Clive back to India so that he could arrive at a settlement. In 1765, the Treaty of Allahabad had given Diwani rights to the British, that is to collect revenue, and Robert Clive, he signed a treaty with the Nawab of Bengal, Najmuddaulah. And as per this treaty, in fact, prior to the signing of Treaty of Allahabad, already Robert Clive signed a treaty with the Nawab of Bengal in 1765. This treaty was signed somewhere in the summers, but during the time period during February or so, Robert Clive had already signed a treaty with the Nawab of Bengal. And under this treaty, the Nawab of Bengal was supposed to exercise the Nizamat function via a deputy Nazim, and that deputy Nazim was to be appointed by the British. So effectively, via Treaty of Allahabad, the British, they were able to enjoy the Diwani rights, and via treaty with the Nawab, the English came to enjoy the Nizamat functions by appointing the deputy Nazim under the Nawab. So this form of a system whereby the English controlled both Diwani and Nizamat, a system where the name of the Nawab as the sovereign ruler was maintained, however the actual authority was exercised by the British, is termed as the dual government. So this time period from 1765 up till 1772, so this time period from 1765 up till 1772, this is known as the time period of dual government. Why dual government? Because now the English, they were exercising the Nizamat function by appointing a deputy Nazim. As per the Mughal system, the Nawab, the entire Mughal administration was divided into Nizamat and Diwani function. The Subedar, who later in 18th century titled himself as Nawab, used to directly administer the Nizamat function, that is law and order. But now the British, they appointed Muhammad Reza Khan as the deputy Nazim, and Muhammad Reza Khan was directly accountable to the English, so they were effectively enjoying the Nizamat function. And for the Diwani rights, the British, they appointed Raja Shitab Roy as the Diwan of Bihar, and they appointed Muhammad Reza Khan as the Diwan, deputy Diwan of Bengal. So in this manner, via the deputies, the English were exercising Diwani and Nizamat function, but who was the titular ruler, who was the name under whose rule they were ruling? It was under the name of Nawab. So it was a system where power was separated from responsibility. And this had a disastrous effect. That is why from 1765 up till 1767, Robert Clive, he established the dual government, and its impact was witnessed from 1767 till 1712, when there were as many as 12 major famines. From 1767 till 1772, the entire law and order of Bengal broke down. We also see from 1767 till 1769, Robert Clive was replaced by Vanistart, and in 1769 it was Cartier who became the governor of the Calcutta presidency. So we see the time period from 1765 till 1772 in Bengal, there was emergence of dual government. So what we see is, in this entire territory, 1765 till 1772, there was dual government. Right. And meanwhile, from 1765 till 1772, back in the Carnatic, we will see in 1766, the British, they signed a treaty with Hyderabad. And with this treaty, the Britishers, they secured the northern Sarkar region because it was important for their trade and commerce. And also, during this time period, from 1767 till 1769, the British, they fought the first Anglo-Mysore War. In this Anglo-Mysore War, the British, they lost and they had to sign Treaty of Madras. The 1769 Treaty of Madras, it was disastrous for the British because the Britishers, they had to accept the rising Mysore as a friendly ally. And moreover, the English, they had to commit to Mysore that they shall come to Mysore's rescue if at all the Marathas, they attacked Mysore. So from 1765 till 1772, whereas the Calcutta presidency gained excessively or gained politically, we saw this was not the scenario with Madras presidency. And with Bombay presidency, things were even more difficult because we know that after death of Nana Sahib, there was Madhav Rao, who emerged as a capable Maratha leader, giving a solid leadership to the Marathas. So the Marathas were a formidable power. Therefore, Bombay presidency, it was always waiting for some form of an opportunity to do what Madras and Calcutta presidency had done. The opportunity shall come, but over a period of time. In 1772, we will see Warren Hastings became the governor. When Warren Hastings became the governor, in 1772, we already know that Shah Alam II, who was given Allahabad and Kora as per the Treaty of Allahabad, he came under the protection of Mahadaji Scindia. And Mahadaji Scindia brought Shah Alam back to Delhi and installed him as the emperor. After this, when Shah Alam II came under the protection of the Marathas, Warren Hastings, he repudiated the Treaty of Allahabad and he declared the British as the sovereign power. So in 1772, the Mughal authority over Bengal, Bihar and Orissa was done away with. Henceforth, it was supposed to be the English rule. The English declared that Bengal, Bihar and Orissa is a territory that is occupied by them. So we see in 1773, because the British, they declared that it's a territory occupied by them, they passed the 1773 Regulatory Act. This was the first act that was passed by the parliament so as to legislate laws. This act clearly stated that whatever territory, conquest, acquisition that would be done by the company shall belong to the British Crown. It will not be that of a company's private possession. Because what was happening in the company itself, there were officials and there were servants. The officials and servants, they had started making a fortune by looting India. So back in the English Parliament, a law was passed. And this law was Regulating Act of 1773. As per this act, Warren Hastings henceforth was to be made the Governor General. That is, henceforth, Warren Hastings, he would be made the Governor General, and Warren Hastings was supposed to have a council so that that council could assist him for his legislative, executive, even the judicial functions. As per the Regulating Act of 1773, there was also provision for establishing judicial institutions. So the Regulating Act is considered as a major breakthrough, watermark in the British history, because it was the first attempt when the British Parliament aimed at bringing about some form of a parliamentary control over the affairs of the company in India. And back on the territorial front, when Warren Hastings became the Governor General, in 1774, Warren Hastings fought the Rohilla War. This entire region of Rohilkhand, it was annexed by Warren Hastings. Subsequently, in 1775, Warren Hastings, he fought with Raja Chait Singh of Banaras and annexed the region around Varanasi. So over a period of time, by forcing the Nawab of Awadh, Warren Hastings was able to subordinate a significant area of Awadh territory under his control. In 1776, when Warren Hastings was the Governor General of Bengal, a major event occurred in the western region. And the event was that the Marathas, they underwent a significant form of a conflict. The Barabhai Council and Raghunath Rao, they had a major rift following the death of Narayan Rao, and this led to Raghunath Rao signing the Treaty of Surat in 1775. As per the Treaty of Surat, the Bombay Presidency, which wanted to imitate the Calcutta Presidency also to gain what Madras Presidency had gained. So Bombay Presidency, it decided to support the claims of Raghunath Rao. Now, Warren Hastings, he had come to India with a clear mandate not to indulge into warfare. However, when Bombay Presidency decided to stand for the cause of Raghunath Rao, a war ensued, a war started between the Marathas and the British and the Bombay Presidency. However, Warren Hastings intervened, and Warren Hastings and the Marathas, they signed the Treaty of Purandhar, which nullified the Treaty of Surat. However, Bombay Presidency insisted and the war continued. In 1779, the Marathas defeated the British decisively and signed the Convention of Vadgaon. The British realized that the Marathas were a force to reckon with. Therefore, the British will not dare to challenge the Marathas. Meanwhile, in 1780, it was Hyder Ali, the ruler of Mysore. He formed a joint front, enlisting support of Hyderabad as well as the Marathas, and he declared war on the British, which led to the Second Anglo-Mysore War. Which began from 1780 till 1784. So during the time period of Warren Hastings, we saw by 1780s the fortune of the British were at an all-time low, because in the south they were fighting with Hyderabad, they were fighting with Mysore, they were fighting with Marathas, they were losing on all fronts. But still the British carried on, they maintained their stronghold. In 1781, the British, they managed to defeat Hyder Ali in the Battle of Porto Novo. But a major relief was when in 1782, the Britishers, they signed the Treaty of Salbai. It was much due to the intervention of Mahadaji Scindia that the Treaty of Salbai was signed in 1782, and it led to friendship between the Marathas and the English. And it is this friendship with the English that enabled the English to focus in the south, on the south. On the southern front in 1782, when Hyder Ali died, his son Tipu Sultan became the ruler of Mysore. So by 1782, Tipu Sultan managed to carry forward the banner of revolt, the warfare with the British, and better sense prevailed between Mysore and the English, and they signed the Treaty of Mangalore in 1784. As per the Treaty of Mangalore, a status quo came into existence between Mysore as well as the British. So when we talk about the time period of Warren Hastings, we see there was the Regulating Act of 1773 that was passed, and on the basis of this Regulating Act, Warren Hastings, he shall bring about administrative reforms such as revenue settlement system. He started with the quinquennial system, followed by the annual settlement system. His land reforms policy failed miserably, because we see after Warren Hastings only then we will see emergence of Permanent Settlement Act that would be introduced by Lord Cornwallis. So on the land revenue system, Warren Hastings would be failing miserably. He fought various wars, Rohilla wars. Then he was criticized for acquiring the land of Raja Chet Singh. During his time period, there would be the first Anglo-Maratha war, the second Anglo-Mysore war. But more important were the judicial reforms which were introduced by Warren Hastings. So during the time period of Warren Hastings, he introduced judicial institutions. So Diwani Adalat and Faujdali Adalat, they were established in the districts, and appeal to them laid to Sadr Diwani Adalat and Sadr Faujdari Adalat in Calcutta. He established Asiatic Society of Bengal. And during his time period, we saw a lot of ancient texts, they were translated into English. A code of Gentoo laws, then Charles Wilkins, he will be forming Asiatic Society of Bengal. He would be translating Bhagavad Gita, Abhijnan Shakuntala. So an attempt would be made by the British to understand the Indian culture. And this would be the characteristic period of Warren Hastings, whose time period is from 1772 till 1785. One very important development that occurred during the time period of Warren Hastings was the Pitt's India Act. Of 1784. Now by 1784 we saw, had there been no Treaty of Salbai, had there been no Treaty of Mangalore, the Britishers, they would have lost India for good. In fact, the British authorities realized that it's very important to separate the commercial functions with the military functions. And that is why the Britishers, they passed the Pitt's India Act in 1784, whereby a board of control under the British Parliament was established, and all military functions and all the military decisions were to be taken by that board of control that was to act under the Pitt's India Act. The court of directors were to limit themselves to the civil matters, to the revenue matters, to the financial matters, commercial matters. Therefore, Pitt's India Act led to dual government, dual administration at home in England. So there would be a board of control and there would be court of directors, both of them regulating. One board of control would be regulating military functions, and the court of directors, that would be regulating the commercial functions. And strict directions were given under the Pitt's India Act to the next Governor General not to indulge into warfare. And this next Governor General was Lord Cornwallis. Lord Cornwallis from 1786 up till 1793. Very, very important Governor General. In fact, when Lord Cornwallis became the Governor General, at that point of time, he introduced various judicial reforms. So Lord Cornwallis came out with his Cornwallis Code, which led to codification of laws. He removed all Indian judges, and now the higher judiciary was manned by European judges. Lord Cornwallis did away with quinquennial settlement and annual settlement and introduced Permanent Settlement Act. Lord Cornwallis' time period also witnessed a third Anglo-Mysore War. So in 1790, when Tipu Sultan attacked Travancore, which was the ally of the British, it led to the Third Anglo-Mysore War. And this Third Anglo-Mysore War from 1790 to 1792 ended into Treaty of Seringapatam. In this Third Anglo-Mysore War, Mysore lost badly. So we see, now this is Arcot area, this is under the British control, and if this is Mysore, this is the Dindigul area, this is Baramahal area, and this is the Malabar area. So previously, this entire region, let us change the color. So let us say this entire region previously, it belonged to Mysore. It was a strong power. So it was contesting with the Marathas for Krishna Tunga Bhadra Doab, and it contested with Hyderabad for this region that was the eastern coastline for the northern Sarkars. Now, following this treaty of Seringapatam, the Britishers, they annexed the Malabar area from Mysore. They annexed the Baramahal area from Mysore, and they also annexed the Dindigul area from Mysore. So effectively, Mysore was limited to this region, and the British, they controlled a vast territory now. The northern Sarkars, Baramahal, the Arcot region, the Malabars, right? And then we know that Travancore was a separate kingdom, and Mysore's power was limited. So during the time period of Lord Cornwallis, we see there were administrative reforms, there was the judicial, the Cornwallis Code, there was the Third Anglo-Mysore War, but overall we will see that Cornwallis emphasized more upon administrative as well as judicial reforms rather than pursuing any major policy of expansionism. So we see that the British, they did not expand their territory, although some form of claims were made upon the Nawab of Awadh for the arrear over the subsidy, and furthermore regions were brought under the British control. So what we see from 1765 up till 1793, there would be a gradual expansion and consolidation of British rule. In 1793, there would be a act that was passed by the British Parliament which shall lead to Permanent Settlement Act. In 1793, when Lord Cornwallis left, at that point of time, we see Sir John Shore becoming the Governor General, and Sir John Shore ruled from 1793 till 1798. Now, Sir John Shore is known for carrying forward Lord Cornwallis' policy of non-interference and masterly inactivity. And during John Shore's time period was the famous Battle of Kharda in 1795. For the last time, all the Maratha Sardars, whether it is the Holkars of Malwa, whether it is the Sindhias of Gwalior, whether it is the Peshwas of Pune, Gaikwads, and also the Bhosles of Nagpur, all the 5 Maratha Sardars came together to defeat Hyderabad in the Battle of Kharda. And after Hyderabad was defeated in 1795, Hyderabad became incapable of playing an important role in the politics of the South. This weakening of Hyderabad, it destroyed the factor that had unified all the Marathas. Because the Maratha history has witnessed that on the issue of the Nizam and Hyderabad, all the Maratha Sardars, they used to come together. But in 1795, when the Maratha Sardars, they had decisively defeated the Nizam of Hyderabad, the Maratha Sardars, they lost the factor that had held them together. Now the point is, the Britishers, they had signed friendship treaty with Hyderabad. Via this treaty, the British, it was in 1766, the Britishers, they had signed the treaty and got this entire northern Sarkar area. But the British under Sir John Shore, it did not come to the rescue of Nizam. And when the British did not come to the rescue of Nizam, the Nizam was decisively defeated and he became completely dependent upon the English for his existence. So effectively, the British, by not playing a role in the Battle of Kharda, they achieved a major political gain. And this was effectively done when Lord Wellesley became the Governor General from 1798 till 1805. Lord Wellesley, when he became the Governor General from 1798 till 1805, he came with a clear agenda, with a clear objective. And the objective was to bring about territorial expansion of the British. Lord Wellesley overhyped the Napoleon danger. And this allowed him to convince the home authorities to carry out aggressive warfare. Therefore, Lord Wellesley, he played upon the fear of Hyderabad, and Hyderabad became the first state to sign the Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance. Subsequently, Lord Wellesley, he defeated Mysore on the same pretext of Napoleonic danger in the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War. So we see during the time period of Lord Wellesley, there would be the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, and via this warfare, now the Britishers, they effectively controlled a very large area. So by 1798, Hyderabad signed Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. The Nawab of Arcot would be forced to sign the Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. Mysore, Tipu Sultan would be killed in the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, and the Raja of the Vodayar dynasty would be installed and he would be forced to sign the Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. Back in the north, Awadh, we will see more territories will be annexed and Awadh would be forced to sign the Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. And the major event during the time period of Lord Wellesley shall occur in 1802. In 1802, we will see that there would be a Treaty of Bassein, under which the Maratha Peshwa will sign the Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. What had happened? Let us understand the background. In 1795, we will see Peshwa Madhav Narayan Rao, the successor to Peshwa Narayan Rao, he will commit suicide. because of the high-handedness of Nana Fadnis. In 1795, Bajirao too will become the Peshwa. Now, Bajirao too was a weak Peshwa. Nana Fadnavis, till the time he maintained the court, or he handled the court politics, the Holkars and Scindias did not fight with each other. But after Nana Fadnavis died in 1799, Holkars and Scindias, they fought with each other to control the Peshwa. Effectively, what had happened, the Gaikwads are already weakened. The Bhosles were not as strong as before, but Holkars and Scindias, they fought with each other to control the Peshwa. When in 1802, the Holkar defeated the combined army of Peshwa and Scindia, Peshwa Bajirao too went to the English and signed the Subsidiary Alliance Treaty in 1802. Now, this Subsidiary Alliance Treaty was not acceptable to all other Maratha Sardars, and this led to the Second Anglo-Maratha War. So we see up till now that the Britishers, they have gained significant success. So this much of territory is very much under their control. In the north, they have quite a success in bringing this territory under their control. So we see that there was the Treaty of Bessin triggering the Second Anglo-Maratha War from 1803 till 1805. In this Second Anglo-Maratha War, the Bhosles of Nagpur, Holkars, Scindia and Peshwa, they will lose. And the British, they would sign Treaty of Devgaon. So we will see Treaty of Devgaon would be signed with the Bhosles of Nagpur. So via this Treaty of Devgaon, the British, they will get annexed the entire Odisha. So effectively we see now the British, following the Second Anglo-Maratha War, they were able to have complete control over the eastern coastline. Malabar was already under their control. Now the Peshwa, who has signed the Subsidiary Alliance, he had also effectively given the western coastline. Now Treaty of Surji Arjangaon, was signed with the Scindias. As per the Treaty of Surji Arjangaon, now the Britishers, they got this entire territory up till river Yamuna. So effectively, the Britishers, they gained a significant stronghold. The Holkars, he still remained strong. He was not defeated decisively. So a ceasefire was signed between the Holkars and the British in 1805. And this ceasefire between the British and the Holkar is known as the Treaty of Rajghat. So the Second Anglo-Maratha War witnessed extension of British territory. Treaty of Bassein, Treaty of Devgaon, Treaty of Surji Arjangaon and Treaty of Rajghat, giving further extension to British territories. So when we discuss Lord Wellesley, he is known for introducing Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. So via subsidiary alliance treaty, every princely state handed over military and defense to the British. So subsidiary alliance treaty became a major tool for the English to bring about subjugation of Hyderabad, Arcot, there would be the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, which will lead to establishment of Wadayar dynasty. There would be the Second Anglo-Maratha War, ending into the Treaty of Bassein, Treaty of Devgaon, Surji Arjangaon, as well as the Treaty of Rajghat. Lord Wellesley's policy of territorial expansion did not go well with the Home authorities. And in 1805, Lord Wellesley was called back. And he was replaced by George Barlow, followed by Lord Minto I. Now, Lord Minto I is very important Governor General who ruled from 1807 till 1813. During the time period of Lord Wellesley, we see that the English frontier, it had almost reached as far as river Yamuna. Now, it will be Lord Minto who would be signing a treaty of Amritsar. Now, what had happened is, in the northwest region, there would be the powerful Sikh Empire, where Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he would be establishing a modernized armed forces, and he would act as a buffer between the Afghans as well as the British. So in the Sindh, there was the Charyars who ruled. It was a separate authority altogether. The English, they signed 1809 Treaty of Amritsar. So Treaty of Amritsar in 1809, it was to be a friendship treaty with Sindh as well as Sikh Empire. As per this treaty, the Sikh Empire and Sindh were to remain as friendly allies to the British. So following this treaty, the English extended their border more, and we also see that the frontier of the British now extended as far as the Satluj. So what we see is the frontier of the British extending as far as river Satluj, make it more neat. So we see the Holkars who controlled Udaipur, the Scindias who controlled Jaipur. So when Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance was forced upon these rulers, when these rulers were defeated, we will see that the Britishers, they would be able to impose subsidiary alliance on the Rajputanas also, and via Treaty of Amritsar, the English, they extended their control as far as Satluj. So during the time period of Lord Minto, a major event would be the Treaty of Amritsar in 1809, which shall extend the border of the company from river Yamuna to the Satluj region, to the Satluj river. When we continue forward, we see that in 1813, a very important Governor General came to India, who ruled till 1823. And this Governor General was Lord Hastings. We don't have to get confused with Warren Hastings. He was completely different. And Lord Hastings is known for establishing British Paramountcy. Let us understand what happened. Now, when Lord Hastings came to India, we will see that the Britishers, they had solidly established themselves as a political power, but they started facing the threat from Nepal. Therefore, Lord Hastings, he will defeat Nepal in the Anglo-Nepal War, and in 1816 he would sign the treaty, or you can say the Treaty of Sagali. The Nepalis, after they were defeated in the Anglo-Nepalese war, they would hand over the region of Kumaon, Garhwal, the hill states. They will also hand over the region of Terai, and this would give a stronghold to the British, and it will give them a northern frontier as well. So effectively, now this is Awadh, surrounded all the four sides. So via Treaty of Sagali, the British, they effectively got a northern frontier. And by 1816, Lord Hastings made up his mind to annex the remaining central India as well. And this was the background to the Third Anglo-Maratha War. Fought from 1817 to 1819. Lord Hastings, in this Third Anglo-Maratha War, he defeated the Peshwa, abolishing the Peshwaship, establishing the House of Satara, and forcing him to sign the subsidiary alliance. The English, they would defeat the Bhosles, they would sign the Treaty of Nagpur, annexing the entire region and forcing them to sign the subsidiary alliance. They would defeat the Holkars, force them to sign the Treaty of Indore. They would also defeat the Sindhiyas, and Treaty of Gwalior would be forced upon them. So effectively, the Britishers would subjugate the entire India by 1819, after the Third Anglo-Maratha War. Now, why have I not considered this area? Because it's the tribal area. When we talk about few pockets of tribal areas were there here and there. So these were still beyond the direct reach of the British. So overall, I would say that by 1819, the British effectively controlled the entire region beyond the Satluj River. Travancore is outside. So they exercised authority on this entire region by 1813, by 1819. So the Britishers, they had become the paramount power. And this is known as Paramountcy. Lord Hastings, when he left India in 1823, the Britishers, they were the paramount power. They controlled the entire Indian heartland, directly or indirectly. Directly via directly administered territories, and indirectly by imposing the subsidiary alliance.